it an addiction?
Is it an addiction? No, I don't think it's an addiction. I think it does put me, it makes me happy. But no, it's not an addiction.
So, for once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows.
You're gonna live with me now. Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna take care of you. Because I love you.
Welcome to the fucking show.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee, powered by Flurry Sports. It can be tough to win a fantasy league on your own, but at FFBC, we will work together to bring home the hardware. Hosted by Zach Bruner and the rest of the Flurry Sports crew, we will give top-level analysis, answer your questions, and, well, go off on other tangents.
That was after I tried to get ChatGPT to admit that 9/11 was an inside job, but it stood firm. It gave quite a few solid points that it was true.
Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Waiver Wire Show. Apologies, we haven't had these the past couple of weeks. Started a new job, which had me working on Mondays and Tuesdays. But today I am free, and we are here to talk about some of the top waiver wire pickups, some of the fantasy football news from this past week, mostly injury stuff, obviously. Wrote down a few names to pick up. But the biggest thing for this week, and, I guess we have to thank the incompetent NFL schedule makers for this, but after a week that I deemed as fantasy football hell with the injuries, but 6 teams on bye, no bye weeks this week. So waiver wire pickups, you're not really scrambling to field a lineup, most likely, unless you did suffer an injury. But overall, you have your full repertoire of players, your full team of players. You're not struggling with bye weeks like last week. Talking about me, I had to start Badgent in a super flex league because I had nobody else. But we will be going over some of the fantasy football stuff. I think we have 4 bye weeks next week if you want to look ahead to that. But obviously recording this on Monday for people watching this video after the fact. So we still have Monday Night Football to talk about. We still don't know the status of Christian McCaffrey, I suppose, technically. Seems like he's playing. Seems like Debo's out for a couple of weeks. But that's the situation. Anybody watching this, jump in chat and ask whatever the hell you want, whether it be fantasy football trade questions, whether it be waiver wire pickup questions, or anything else. Probably not start sit questions yet. We'll leave that to Wednesday when we do our live ranking show right here as well. But let's start this the same way we usually do. Let's talk about the trending players over on Sleeper Fantasy. Obviously, Sleeper is like the sharps, right? Like the most the people who are most dedicated to fantasy football, I feel like, are playing on Sleeper Fantasy. So you see the ownerships there are a little different than ESPN. Most people play on ESPN, so we'll talk about ownership percentages over there in a little bit. But on Sleeper, let's talk about the most trending players, the players who have been picked up the most over the past 24 hours. Obviously, most waivers will be processing Tuesday night, but some leagues doesn't really matter. Some leagues don't have that. You can just pick up players whenever you want. And the 2 most picked up players are in the same backfield. It's probably not the most surprising. And Vinny, I'll get to you in 1 second after we talk about the Rams backfield here. 2 most trending players up: Darrell Henderson and Royce Freeman. Darrell Henderson picked up in nearly 400K leagues over the past 24 hours, rostered in 36% of Sleeper Fantasy leagues. Royce Freeman owned in 26% and has been picked up in 230,000 leagues. And to nobody's surprise, if we just correlate that data the other way, Zach Evans is the most trending down player, the most dropped player over the past 24 hours, 274,000 drops. We said this on Wednesday show. I did. I think it was Wednesday. Must have been Wednesday. How I didn't understand why people were saying Zach Evans is the premier pickup, and I didn't really understand why he would be getting all of these touches. Turns out he got 0 touches, which obviously is lower than what I thought. I thought he was going to get something. I talked about how I think Zach Evans is extremely talented. I think Zach Evans has the makings to be a 3-down back in this league, but Sean McVay has shown 0 indication of wanting to use him or wanting to use these really young rookies right away in the backfield. He wants to temper expectations a little bit. I stuck my head out for Kyron Williams last year in a very, very similar situation. Look how good he's been this year. Obviously, he's injured. I don't believe he can come back until week 12. He was put on IR. So with him out for at least must be 3 more games here in a bye week, there's value to be had in this Rams backfield. And Darrell Henderson, picked up off of the street onto the practice squad, was one of the game day elevations. Obviously, we said that was going to happen. The key here is you only have so many elevations. You can only elevate a player so many times. So eventually, the Rams are going to have to just sign him to the active roster. But after playing 57% of the snaps, most carries in the game, 18 carries, 61 yards, a touchdown, had 2 targets as well. I assume he'll be signed to the active roster. Royce Freeman played quite a bit as well, though. Nearly even split. 57% of the snaps for Darrell Henderson, 43% of the snaps for Royce Freeman. Royce Freeman had 12 carries of his own for 66 yards. It looks like a lackluster fantasy day just because he did nothing else. So 6.6 fantasy points, but that's a flex-worthy workload in my opinion. He certainly, body type wise, it feels like they would use him near the goal line, but I said a similar thing last year when Darrell Henderson was getting goal line carries. I didn't think they would just continue to do that and sacrifice his body. They did. He got hurt, not a surprise, but with 0 investment into the future for him here, yet again, like the Rams, they might as well, as inhuman as it sounds, as shitty as it sounds, they may as well run Darrell Henderson into the ground again, right? Like he's barely 200 pounds soaking wet, but he's going to be getting all these very, very valuable touches. It seems like next week he plays Dallas. That's an okay matchup, whatever. Plays Green Bay the week after that. Obviously, that's a good matchup. Then a bye week. Then he plays Seattle. And then week 12 is when Kyron Williams is eligible to come back. We don't even know if he'll be back. All signs point to he should be ready by then. But yeah, you got 3 more weeks and then a bye week. It's nice that the bye week. Oh, no, never mind. Scratch that. 2 weeks bye week, then another week of seemingly Darrell Henderson full workload. So he's the top pickup of the week. I mean, we don't even need to just disguise that. We don't need to pretend. We don't need to get cute. We don't need to do anything like that. Darrell Henderson is the top pickup of the week. Royce Freeman, despite being the second most trending player, he's not the second biggest pickup in my opinion. It fully depends on what your team needs, but there's running backs available here that can certainly be contributors to your fantasy team. There's some wide receivers as well, though, and we'll talk about them. But let's talk about Vinny's question here. Don't want to ignore you any longer. Need some help? I got Bijan Kamara and Ken Walker. I need 2 to start. Who would you go with? I mean, it's for next week. So 1, I would tune into the ranking show on Wednesday or join the Fantasy Football by Committee Facebook group. You can see my rankings in there. They get posted on Flurry Sports every week. So I haven't done my rankings yet, obviously. This week's not over yet. My gut call, I'm not worried about Bijan. He had a headache, and Arthur Smith was caring about the player over the, he was valuing his long-term health over everything else. It wasn't anything else. So I imagine Bijan's going to be fine to go. So I would probably sit Kamara, I would assume. Obviously, I'm not a believer in Kamara Kamara's touchdown upside, especially now with Jamal Williams back. So that's probably where I'm going to land. Obviously, PPR, he's more valuable. But, and again, I haven't even looked who teams really play next week. Let's do that super quick for you, just in case there's a glaring must start or do not start. Saints play the Colts. That's okay. It's going to be tough to run in the middle. Ken Walker, Seattle plays Cleveland. That's tougher. And then the Falcons play Tennessee, so none of the matchups are great. But yeah, gut call right now, I'm probably sitting Kamara. Probably. I value Bijan the highest out of the three still. So it's going to be between Walker and Kamara. Cleveland's scary. Like, we don't even need to pretend. They still are scary, but I'm probably sitting Kamara. I think he has the lowest likelihood to score a touchdown. Good question. Any other questions? Definitely fire them away from anybody in chat. But let's talk about some other players who are trending on Sleeper Fantasy right now. Number 3 most trending player, Deontay Foreman. And there's going to be people who get burnt with this. But, like, I like Deontay Foreman. I think he's a solid player. 15 carries last week and looked good. And people were still kind of giving him shit, saying he's not a worthwhile pickup. I mean, obviously, he shut some people up this week, right? 3 touchdowns, including 1 through the air. Very impressive performance. It was against the Raiders. Next week, looking at it, he's got the Chargers. That's another matchup he can certainly exploit. The issue is Roschon Johnson is most likely back. He didn't get cleared of a concussion this week, which was weird. I mean, everyone, concussions are weird in itself. Everyone's on their own timeline, is what it is. So it's not like it's tough to predict when someone's going to come out of it, but I can't imagine he's still in concussion protocol next week when Roschon Johnson comes back. I'm not saying Roschon Johnson's going to be, an 80-20 guy, like him being the 80. I don't think that. I think Deontay Foreman is more than worthy of seeing touches. I think he's proven that for the Bears in a big win over the Raiders. So I could see a 50-50 like split. Obviously, Roschon Johnson is more talented. He is capable of doing more. Again, Khalil Herbert's another player who went on IR. Khalil Herbert out until at least week 11. So we do have a couple more games with Deontay Foreman in a decent workload, I would say. Chargers this week, Saints the week after, and then Panthers the week after that. Then week 11, Khalil Herbert is eligible to come back. I would assume he does come back. I think it was an ankle injury, if I am remembering correctly. But yeah, I think Deontay Foreman's a fine pickup. I think he's a flex going forward. I don't expect him to get 15, 16 carries like he did the past 2 weeks, but I think 12 carries is very, very, very doable for Deontay Foreman. And maybe his receiving production comes down a little bit. Only 1 catch the week before, but 5 targets last week. Very impressive. He's one of the better pickups. Again, if you are getting absolutely decimated in your running back depth, he's a guy you can pick up and I think is worth a flex start this week with Roschon Johnson back. If somehow Roschon Johnson doesn't come back yet, I mean, Deontay Foreman is going to be, against the Chargers, he's going to be a very, very, very solid RB2 start, maybe low end wide or running back 1 upside. I mean, that's kind of stupid to say, I suppose, after a 30+ point week, obviously has the upside, but I mean, if they get in the red zone, like, I don't know if Justin Fields is going to be back yet. And it seems like if they get in the red zone, they want to run the football. They certainly weren't looking towards Cole Kmet this week. I tell you that much. Ralph has a question for tonight. Do I play Madison or Mason? Not sure if CMC is sitting. I mean, you're going to know. You will know. Unless you have to lock it in right now for whatever reason. Maybe you can't get to it later. I'm pretty sure Christian McCaffrey is going to give it a go, at least. Or do the 49ers get up by so many points where they can dial him back? Maybe he's already going to be on a pitch count. Who knows? Regardless, I'm going to go Madison. I'll go Madison. If we find out that Christian McCaffrey is for sure out fully and you're able to get to your lineup, then I think it's more of a coin flip. I think I would go Mason if we know Christian McCaffrey is for sure out. For sure out. But as of right now, sounds like he's going to at least get some run. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go with Madison. I'll go with the lead ball carrier on a football team. And he should get a fair amount of receiving work tonight. So if you're in PPR, that's, even better. Do I have any other running backs to talk about so we can just stay on theme? Obviously, Jerome Ford got injured, had a big run, then he hurt his ankle. He was in a walking boot after the game, which suggests obviously not great things. Let's see who the Browns play next week. Browns play Seattle, so an okay matchup there. It seems like he's going to miss, and if he misses, obviously, Kareem Hunt's the guy. I think Kareem Hunt is worth a, pickup regardless. But now that the fact that he's possibly the lead ball carrier, I mean, he's the most talented player in that backfield already. He was playing hurt this past week, still scored 2 touchdowns. One, I think, came when Jerome Ford was still in the game. Obviously scored last week as well. But yeah, Kareem Hunt is a good pickup. I'm just trying to order these in my mind right now. Let's assume Jerome Ford's out. Sounds like he's going to be out. I still want Darrell Henderson first. I think, despite, the other player in the backfield are being on IR, so we know they're going to be out, I think I'd still put Deontay Foreman below Kareem Hunt. I think for the running backs this week, I would order it Henderson, Hunt, Foreman, Freeman after that. I think that's where I'm at. I'm not messing around with the Arizona backfield for whatever it's worth. I know Keontae Ingram didn't even get a carry this week. I'm not even sure if he saw the field. That was stupid, I would say. DeMercado, I mean, he had an okay game, right? 13 carries, 58 yards, 4 catches, 17 yards. Fine game. I'm not rushing to pick him up. Obviously, a 16-team league or something, you're really decimated and you need some depth. DeMercado should be owned. He should be owned. I don't really want to start him unless I'm panicking. How owned is Jamal Williams? Is only owned in 42% of leagues. He only had 5 carries this past week, but I think I'd rather own Jamal Williams than DeMercado. I think I'd rather own Jamal Williams than Royce Freeman, unless you need somebody to start this week. So full breakdown. I'm going Henderson, Hunt, Foreman, Williams, Freeman, DeMercado. That's what I'm doing. Lots of running backs. A lot of running back value available. So the 0 RB people, they had a little hiccup there. They were all like, hey, look at this. We got Raheem Mostert. We're good. The Raheem Mostert did nothing. But they got value again. And me owning Nick Chubb in every fucking league, I have some value to pick up too, which is nice. Jacob, guy in my league, offered me Kareem Hunt and Gus Edwards for Devontae Smith. Running backs are currently Kamara, Jacobs, Gainwell, Keontae Ingram, and Khalil Herbert. Wide receivers are Kupp, Devontae, D-Hop, Jacoby, and Deontay Johnson. Gus Edwards is another one. I suppose he's only owned in 50% of sleeper leagues. I mean, Gus Edwards, we know exactly what he is. Obviously, he's a player I love. I've talked about a shit ton. That 80-yard reception is a fluke, right? Like, he is a 50 to 65-yard rusher, essentially. And if he falls in the end zone, awesome. Like, that's kind of what he is. Getting Hunt and Edwards doesn't make me feel great. Like, I don't think you're upgrading your running back room. So no, I'm not doing that. You're actively downgrading your starting wide receivers to just get more depth at running back. You're not even upgrading it. So can't do it. Can't do it. Just a tough having Devontae be the clear number 3-4 option in Philly. I mean, he's been a little banged up. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Obviously AJ Brown's one. We know they want to run the football, but like, I'm not putting Goddard ahead of Devontae Smith, despite that being the case for 2 weeks now. Like, I mean, it is what it is. You just got to downgrade him. A lot of people were valuing him as like a top 12 wide receiver going into this year. And he was one of the receivers we talked about a bunch because I just didn't understand it. Other people on the show really liked him, but like, talent-wise, he's got it. I just didn't understand the role. And I think, Water's sort of finding its level right now. He's a wide receiver too. He's fine. He's going to, better days ahead. Got to keep starting him. You know what I mean? So I'm not downgrading one position. Jacob also has Darrell Henderson. I mean, yeah. Again, you're starting Darrell Henderson over probably both of the guys that were offered to you. So, yeah, can't do it. Doesn't make you better. Spencer, keep firing questions away, by the way. Do we think Kyren Williams will be an immediate start when he returns, or think Henderson will still bring in some points then? I think Henderson will be mixed in if he's still healthy, but I think Kyren Williams will be the clear and obvious majority leader. So at least for fantasy wise, like, yes, I think he'll be an immediate start. Again, like, the Rams don't value Darrell Henderson's body, it feels like. Last year didn't make sense to me. Again, barely 200 pounds soaking wet. They use him on the goal line. They ran him into the ground. He got hurt. Surprise, surprise. He comes back this year. They use him in the goal line again this week and not Royce Freeman, who's more built for it. I think they're going to run Darrell Henderson into the ground over the next few weeks, which is kind of good for fantasy, I suppose. I'm not putting any amount of money on him being healthy when Kyren Williams comes back. But if they are both healthy, then Kyren Williams is just way more talented. Way more talented. And this is bias. There's bias here. Okay. I'll put that up front. I was saying they needed to play Kyren Williams over Darrell Henderson last year. So that's the case here. C-Cap? Cap? I'll just say Cap. Do I trade Mike Evans for DJ Moore and Kareem Hunt? That's an interesting trade. If you are extremely desperate at running back, I don't hate it. But what did Moore do this week with Badgett? I know he had a big catch. I was watching it at that point. 8 for 54. Like, I'm fine with it. I don't hate this trade. I would prefer, like, I assume you're struggling at running back and that's why you're doing this. I would prefer to include one of your trash running backs and getting a better running back in return. But in a vacuum, if this is the best offer you can get, then I'm fine with it. Assuming you don't have to drop somebody good. Few questions from, wrong one. From A&J here. Trade Justin Fields for Stephon Diggs. Sure. Oh, a few questions here. Okay, so trade Justin Fields for Stephon Diggs. Sure. Trade Justin Fields and CeeDee Lamb for Diggs. No. My wide receivers would be Amon-Ra, Diggs, and Ayuk. If you have to include CeeDee Lamb with Fields, no. Like, better days ahead for CeeDee Lamb. And Justin Fields, better days ahead for him. Obviously, he'll get healthy. I don't hate trading away Fields just because, I mean, honestly, if you don't have one of a couple different quarterbacks, I feel like you can stream it and be fine. But yeah, not a trade I would make if you're including CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is still, to me, a low-end wide receiver 1. So you're talking about a quarterback 1 and a low-end wide receiver 1. Even if you value him as a high-end wide receiver 2, I don't think in a super flex league. Okay. I mean, that's even worse then because you're trading away a good quarterback. So no, don't do it. The Citizen, I hate Herbert. Guy never checks down to an open Eckler, tries to force it downfield. I'm an Eckler owner, obviously. I can't disagree with you. Like Justin Herbert, I think has all the talent in the world to be a top tier quarterback, obviously. I think his biggest issue is he doesn't have good coaching. But yeah. I got a lot of shit for saying he's not in my top 12 last year. And I stick to it. He doesn't have it, whatever that is. You know what he has? He has a lot of Phillip Rivers in him when the fourth quarter hits. He just forgets how to make decisions. And I think that's the case for that entire Chargers team, obviously. Spencer, one of his auto-drafted leagues. He has Jamar Chase, Kupp, A.J. Brown, and Thielen. Okay, good auto-draft, I guess. 2 is his quarterback. Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, the main running backs. Jesus, did you have a question earlier? Oh, yeah. Do we think Kyron Williams is an immediate start? I still think he's an immediate start. Looks like you don't have to. Looks like your team's pretty good. A&J just traded Patrick Mahomes for Breece Hall, Amon-Ra, Justin Fields, and Tony Pollard. I love that. And he wants to get rid of CD because of Pollard. I don't think you need to get rid of a Cowboy just because you have another Cowboy unless you actively despise the Dallas Cowboys. Then, fantasy football is about fun too. It's not just about winning. Winning's fun. But that offense is going to very clearly be good enough to support the 2 top players. Those are the 2 top players. So I don't think you need to get rid of them. You know what I mean? You don't need to. But if you want to, if you hate the Cowboys, if you're an Eagles or Giants fan or something like that, or honestly, any fan base, because fuck the Cowboys, then that's fine. Justin Herbert's a poor man's Tony Romo. I don't know if I'd go there, but maybe it's not that far off. We just need to stop talking about him in the same breath as Joe Burrow and players like that. Like, we can't be like, oh, we got this new wave of elite quarterbacks. We got Patrick Mahomes. We got Joe Burrow. We got Justin Herbert, Josh Allen. Like, there's a couple players here that don't look like the others. There's some players here that actively throw away games. And Justin Herbert's one of them. He needs a better coach. Any positive outlooks with the Pittsburgh running game the coming weeks coming up? Let's look at their schedule really quick. But boy, there's multiple issues there. Bad scheme. Offensive line isn't fantastic. I'm not going to put this all on them. Whoops, why did I just type in Steelers? That's stupid. Najee Harris is slow as hell. Suddenly, the Steelers beat reporters this offseason that called him fat. Suddenly, it doesn't seem as out of line. Like, he needs to trim down a little bit and he'll be better. He's playing too heavy right now. And I'm not fat shaming him, obviously. That doesn't mean much coming from me. I can't be doing that. But it feels like he's playing at too heavy of a weight. He's the 3rd heaviest running back in the NFL after Derrick Henry, who can do whatever the hell he wants, A.J. Dillon, who is slow and terrible as well, and Najee Harris just playing too slow. He's got Jacksonville, Tennessee, Green Bay, Cleveland. So Jacksonville, I think, is fine. I think you can run against them. Tennessee's kind of tough. Green Bay, obviously, you can run against. And then the weather gets colder too, which could help. Obviously, at Cleveland, at Cincinnati, in not Heinz, Acrisure is that what it's called now, in Pittsburgh for Arizona, New England. I think there's better days ahead. The biggest issue is like the Steelers' offense is horrendous. It's horrendous. The scheme is terrible. So if the scheme's terrible, if we're not moving the ball, you need more snaps in plus territory. You need more snaps in valuable situations. If the touchdown upside for these Steelers running backs is low, and Najee Harris especially, I'm not predicting Najee Harris to break a fucking 80-yard run, score a touchdown. That's the biggest knock against them. And that's why when we devalue James Cook or devalue maybe Miles Sanders last year, something like that, where it's like when they get Alvin Kamara, when they get into the red zone, their touchdown upside's low because the quarterback's going to take it or they have other options that are going to score the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs, same thing. So the Steelers, they're just not even getting into the red zone. So if you're saying, okay, we can pencil him in to not score a touchdown, then all of a sudden he has to have a shit ton of yards or receptions to even be valuable. So it's like that's the biggest issue against the Steelers right now. I thought it was going to be better this year. Clearly, George Pickens is a player, throw it up and he's going to come down with it. 50-50 chance at least, maybe 65-35 favoring him. They just don't do that shit. Matt Canada's terrible. Steelers are terrible offensively. And it's hurting their fantasy players, obviously, because they don't have big plays and they're not in scoring position. How often do I go by projected points in the fantasy app? I don't, just because I set the rankings, right? So like my rankings have been included in Fantasy Pros for a number of years. I've been working in this industry for nearly a decade. So I have my own rankings and I go by my rankings. So I don't go by projected points. Now, there are certain sites that are way more accurate than others, I would say, for fantasy points. Like if you play on ESPN, for sure never go by projected points. Like I'm pretty confident they still have projected points for players who have been out for multiple weeks, right? But yeah, I wouldn't go too much by projected points. I would mostly advise you to like read our articles and like join our shows like this and ask questions, or join the Fantasy Football by Committee Facebook group that's linked below since you are on YouTube here. You can ask questions there whenever you want. You can ask questions anonymously as well if you're worried about people in your league finding out you're in there and seeing your strategy or something. But yeah, especially projected points, never go with it on ESPN. Never go with it on any site in the beginning of the week. Is what it is. And Jay, down 7. Have Ayuk and Kittle to play tonight, but he has 49ers defense. Do you think I got it? I do. I think you got it. I assume decent game out of Ayuk, and Kittle comes to play. Kittle comes to play in primetime. He just always does. And while it's not National Tight Ends Day, it's the day after. So I expect both of those players to do pretty damn well tonight. As long as the 49ers do not score defensively, don't score a touchdown or something, I think you'll be okay. How do we think Brock Purdy's going to do tonight? I think he'll be okay. I think, he's going to, considering all the bye weeks and stuff, he will flirt with those top 12 numbers, I suppose. They just need to get Danielle Hunter under control, I would say, on the edge. As long as he has time to throw, this Vikings defense is trash. It's bad. So he has Brock Purdy and the Niners defense down 20 points. Think I can make up enough to come back and win? I think so. Like if you asked me to project number of points for Purdy, I would say maybe he's probably going to get close to 20 himself. So yeah, I think you're good. Spencer, is Goff still a safe backup for Fields while he's out? Yes. Let's see what the Lions' schedule is, but notoriously, Jared Goff isn't good on the road. And he proved me wrong last week And then this week he proved me right. So absolutely nothing went well for the Lions this week, obviously. I think he returns home for a primetime game this week, if I remember correctly. I guess I don't have the days in front of me. I think it's a Monday night game against the Raiders, though. So then love him this week. He has a bye week after that. So maybe Fields is back then. I have no idea. But like schedule-wise, Goff's schedule's fucking awesome. He's got Raiders this week, bye, Chargers, Bears, Packers. Saints is a little tough. Then he's got the Bears, Broncos, Vikings, Dallas. So, yeah, if you can buy low on Jared Goff, anybody else who doesn't have him, I love it. I love it. Amon-Ra should get healthier. Jameson Williams hopefully gets worked into the offense a little bit more. David Montgomery coming back is going to help the offense overall. Yada, yada, yada. Brock's a Lions fan. Me too, kind of. I'm a Packers fan, Packers insider, host a Packers podcast. Went to the Packers-Lions game last year in full Lions gear, though. Hard not to cheer for the Lions. Hard not to, and it's hard to cheer for the Packers, to be honest. Knowing the things I know, seeing the things I see. Not a fan of this Packers regime whatsoever, so happy for you. Happy for you for sure. I hope the Lions fucking win the NFC. It's going to be tough, though. Other players. Let's go back to the trending page just to see. Oh, I never even talked about the wide receivers. Jesus. Okay, so let's see how much he's owned on Sleeper. Like Josh Downs is a stud. I really like Josh Downs. One of my favorite players coming into the draft. If you were watching our draft coverage, obviously Gardner Minshew at quarterback now helps him quite a bit. He has, let's do quick math here, 20, 32, 35. 35 targets over the past 5 weeks. 6 plus in 4 of those 5 games. This week, obviously, massive performance, 125 yards and a touchdown. He doesn't seem like a player who's going to have those big plays. I don't think he has a ton of touchdown upside. I don't think he's going to have many breakout plays, but in PPR leagues especially, I think he's going to be a pretty solid option the rest of the way. Like, I think he can give you wide receiver 3 value pretty steadily. Like, I think he's an easy throw. He's an easy check down. He's a chains mover. Like, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. I wouldn't expect this week's value, going forward, but he's going to be good. The other wide receiver people need to start paying attention to and pick up. He's owned in only 39% of sleeper leagues, which means it's going to be even lower on other sites. Kendrick Bourne is a major part of this Patriots offense. 87 or more percent of the snaps each of the last 3 weeks. He's benefited from some of the injuries there, but even when they get healthier, I mean, they have to use him. He's the only one really producing in that wide receiver core. Last week, 10 catches, 89 yards. This week, 6 catches, 63 yards and a touchdown. 3rd touchdown of the year. Again, Kendrick Bourne, probably a wide receiver 3 going forward. Next week, he has Miami. I think a decent chance Miami's down both of their cornerbacks once again. Then he has Washington. That's a good matchup. The Colts, that's a good matchup. There's a bye week. Then he has the Giants. That's a good matchup. The Chargers, that's a good matchup. Steelers is okay. Kansas City's tough. Then Denver. Kendrick Bourne's someone who needs to be picked up. I think you can start him relatively safely the rest of the way. I suppose there's going to be some questions about Julio Jones. You can leave Julio Jones. I love him. I hope he is a consistent contributor on the Eagles, but, it's not going to be super consistent, at least for fantasy football. So leave him be. But yeah, definitely go pick up Kendrick Bourne. Definitely go pick up Josh Downs. You don't need to pick up Jake Bobo. I think he's good. I think he makes the Seahawks a lot better. Obviously, one of 2 talented rookies there. once DK Metcalf comes back, which I imagine is next week, then Jake Bobo is non-existent, unfortunately. So leave him be. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think, I said he was going to have a bigger role coming out of the bye. Obviously, 48 yards last week. Not exceptional, but it's a bigger role this week without DK. He had a big role. If DK or Lockett miss any time going forward, I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be a solid start. Otherwise, he's kind of a bye week fill-in the rest of the way, probably. Kendrick Osborne, or KJ Osborne, Jesus Christ. Whew. Pause one more time. KJ Osborne here. He plays tonight. Obviously, 49ers defense is tough. We will see how much success the Vikings passing attack has overall. However, he's another one of those guys who's going to be one of the better bye week fill-ins going forward, I think, with Justin Jefferson out. He is the 19th most picked up player, it looks like. Owned in about the same number of leagues as Josh Palmer. I prefer Josh Palmer with the Chargers. Big game from him. Obviously, he's the own over Quentin Johnston going forward. Quentin Johnston needs to get a lot better this offseason, to put it lightly. Brandon Powell's a sneaky play as well with the Vikings. If you're playing a DFS tonight, I need to look at their salaries and everything like that, I suppose, still. But Brandon Powell, I imagine, is pretty cheap, and I think he is involved. Big Titans fan here. Going back to the chat, by the way. Thank y'all for sticking around. Spencer's a big Titans fan, pulling for the Lions in this year, in years to come as well. Fair enough. And hey, I like the Titans too. I'm interested to know if you're still here, Spencer. I'll talk through your other questions as well, but I want to know who you want the Titans to go with at quarterback for the future. Truthfully. Obviously, Tannehill hurt. Willis, draft pick last year. Levis, draft pick this year. What are you wanting the Titans to do as a Titans fan? I was hoping to play in some 12-team leagues this year. I had to settle for 10-team leagues. So many options on waiver wire that I don't really need to pick up. Yeah. That's the issue with some of those more shallow leagues. Looking for someone other than Love to replace Fields. Smart choice. Jordan Love sucks at football. Matt LaFleur sucks at calling plays. Anybody catch your eye between Wilson, Dobbs, Ritter, Minshew? I think Minshew is going to be fine going forward. What's his schedule? Saints, Panthers, Patriots, bye, Buccaneers. Not the easiest. I think Russell Wilson's fine. Dobbs, I'm not picking up. I mean, honestly, and we can transition to this, I suppose. Look and see if Kyler Murray's out there. Let's see how owned Kyler Murray is on Sleeper. I think on ESPN's got to be pretty low. Kyler Murray on Sleeper is owned in 49% of leagues. So over half of Sleeper fantasy leagues, Kyler Murray's available. So I'm going to pick him up there. Let's see what he is on ESPN. Just for comparison's sake. He's owned in 22% of ESPN fantasy leagues. I'm not a Kyler Murray fan, obviously. Anyone who's followed me since Kyler Murray was drafted knows that. I don't think Kyler Murray plays this week. Okay? Like I said, in the summer, I was projecting him Halloween. So I think week 9 is fair. I do. And Cardinals play the Browns week 9. It goes Browns, Falcons, Texans, Rams, Steelers, then a bye week. Yeah, I mean, if anybody has any roster space right now, go pick up Kyler Murray, man. Most people don't have a quarterback that you can confidently start, I think. Given how the quarterback position has played this year, let's talk about quarterbacks where I would not go for Kyler Murray. But even still, if you have an open roster spot, pick up Kyler Murray and maybe trade him. But like if I have Jalen Hurts, I'm feeling good. If I have Mahomes, I'm feeling good. Josh Allen, I suppose I'm feeling good. I don't even. Here we go. Lamar Jackson, I'm feeling good. Tua. Is that it? I think that might be it. I'm checking in on Kyler Murray for anybody else. Justin Herbert, I'm probably feeling fine. But like if you're a Geno Smith owner, obviously if you're a Deshaun Watson owner, Stafford, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Kirk Cousins, go check out what Kyler Murray has to offer. See if Kyler Murray's available. Obviously coming back from a knee injury, we'll see how much he runs. I assume he's going to be a little conservative right away, which is going to frustrate some people. But Josh Dobbs is fantasy relevant right now. Couple rushing touchdowns, obviously, but obviously Kyler Murray can do that as well. But yeah, over half of sleeper leagues in over 3/4 of ESPN leagues, Kyler Murray is available, which is kind of mind blowing. Go pick him up. Go see if he's available. He might be the best pickup of the week. He's up there. He's up there. And someone who I picked up last week in a bunch of leagues relates to what Spencer's saying right now. I picked up Malik Willis in a bunch of leagues last week just to see if he would start this week. But he says Levis hasn't really gotten the chance to show out yet. I'm just ready to see someone other than Tannehill at quarterback. That's fair. That's fair. I think if you believe in Levis whatsoever, and I'm not one of those people, but if you believe in him whatsoever, I don't think you can play Levis this year. That offensive line is so bad. And, you don't want to put somebody out there and just ruin them. So put the more mobile Malik Willis out there, see if he can impress, see if he can do anything. Maybe he proves he's the quarterback of the future. Maybe he proves he's the quarterback of the future for a different team that wants to trade for him. I don't know. But that's what I would do. Like, I'm not putting Levis back there and just letting him get hit in the chin over and over and over like Tannehill has. Tannehill's gotten the shit beat out of him this year. And I understand the frustration from Titans fans towards Tannehill. It's tough to blame him for much, given this offensive line, which is atrocious. It's so bad. I understand you guys got Skronsky. Skronsky's great. Should have dedicated more offseason assets towards that offensive line. Let's see what Malik Willis is owned in sleeper. Because I do think there's a decent chance he starts this week. Are they going to show him? What are we doing? There we go. He's rostered in 2% of sleeper leagues. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think I'd rather pick up Willis over Dobbs, over Minshew. Ritter has been confusing because Ritter over the past 3 weeks has been pretty good for fantasy. He's been atrocious. He's been as bad as ever in reality. He got a rushing touchdown this past week, obviously, which helped his value. I'm not believing it. I need Ritter to show me more. I need Ritter to look like a good quarterback before I can pick him up. I just can't do it. I kind of scattered around for this episode, so apologies for that. Any other trending players, any other pickups that are worthwhile? Again, no bye weeks this week, so I don't think anyone's really hitting the panic button heading into week 8. There's a lot of people who are, staring at a shitty record, maybe a 2-5 record or something, and you need to start winning games. Then you're probably panicking. Would it be worthwhile for the people watching now live, people watching after the fact? Would it be worthwhile to do a scheduled stream that's just answering trade questions this week? Because this is probably a good week to fire off some trades. Maybe we could do it tomorrow night. Maybe we do it Wednesday instead of the ranking show. Maybe we do it. Yeah, I don't know. But if there's any interest in a trade show, fantasy football trade show, let me know. And maybe we'll do it. Because I like answering your guys' questions. It would for sure be more than just me. Thank God. But yeah. Any other players? Let's roast some other people from the industry. How about that? That's a fun thing to do. Oh, is there any injury news? Let's look at that actually. Christian McCaffrey will play tonight. If the person who was asking about Christian McCaffrey is still here, he will officially play tonight. So get him in your lineups. I'm starting him as normal. If you have Christian McCaffrey, you're starting him. And I would start, for the question earlier, I would start Madison over Mason then. And appreciate you, Spencer. Appreciate you. We're always live Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central for the ranking show. We're always live immediately before Thursday Night Football, answering some start-sit questions. And then I've been doing Mondays here for this waiver wire stuff. New job with Underdog has thrown a wrench into it. Sometimes it's Mondays, sometimes it's Tuesdays, but I want to keep doing that. And maybe we do some fantasy basketball stuff as well, if you guys are into fantasy basketball. Obviously, that starts tomorrow. Not much injury news here. Jimmy Garoppolo is expected to be back this week. Means nothing other than maybe that's better for Devontae, I suppose. Let's just type in fantasy football waiver. Let's see what other people are saying. I want to know who the top pickup is. It has to be Henderson, right? For most people. We already declared that here, I suppose. Fantasy pros. Let's see what they got to say. Kyler Murray, Bryce Young. Don't need to pick up Bryce Young. Gardner Minshew. Okay. Badgett. You don't need to pick up Badgett. Tyjae Spears, yeah. I mean, if he actually is only rostered in a third of leagues, go pick up Tyjae Spears for sure. Devin Singletary. You can. Tank Bigsby. Nah. Josh Downs, Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas. You don't need to pick up Douglas. Jalen Hyatt. You don't need to pick up Hyatt. Don Kincaid, I think that was kind of a fluke this week, but worth an eyebrow raise, I would say. Taysom Hill. if anyone's expecting Taysom Hill to do what he did last week, boy, I got a beach house in Montana I could sell you. Okay. Yeah, I mean, pretty weird week. JJ, ask your trade offer, and then maybe we'll end on that, depending on other questions y'all got. Yeet. Thoughts on trading Amari Cooper and Deontay for CeeDee Lamb? I don't hate it. Like, I feel like there's better days ahead for Amari Cooper. I really thought he was going to be decent this week. And I suppose the switch at quarterback probably impacted that a decent amount. But if you are absolutely stacked at wide receiver and you are not currently even thinking about starting Deontay Johnson, then I'm okay with it. Like, I don't want you destroying your depth for CeeDee Lamb. But if essentially you're just trying to upgrade from Amari Cooper to CeeDee Lamb, then I like it. Do I like Rashad White as an automatic RB2 start? In PPR, I suppose he's mid to low end RB2, like automatic. Like, the volume's there, which is all you're really looking for. Touchdown upside again is low. I wouldn't say automatic. But I think he's going to be okay going forward. Oh, sorry. Didn't read your other stuff. Your other wide receivers are Ayuk, Adams, Kirk, and Thielen. That's interesting. Yeah, I would do it because obviously you feel good about Ayuk, Adams, and Kirk. Thielen, I think you can sell high on, probably. I like him. I thought he was going to be good this year. That's come to fruition, but he's been so good where it's like you got to take a temperature check. You got to see what other people in your league are thinking. You got to put some feelers out there because if you can sell high on Adam Thielen, sell high on Adam Thielen. Ayuk and Madison for Evans and Pitts. I would want Evans and Pitts, assuming your running backs are fine, right? And some people get frustrated when I preface trade answers with that, but like running back this year, especially, so decimated by injuries, committees, and everything in between. So like you got to have depth at running back. So I wouldn't destroy my running back depth for this trade, but I think Pitts is fine. So I think if Pitts is an upgrade for you, then sure. Not a trade I think you have to make, though. Fully depends on the strengths of your team. Spencer, biggest thing about week 7 is the Titans didn't lose. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hey, that's fine. Undefeated this week. That's how I was feeling with the Packers last week. Johnny just turned 1-6. No chance of making the playoffs. What a waste of a season this was. All my drafted players were inconsistent. Adams, Lamb, Devontae Smith, Waddle. Yeah. Doesn't help that I am the second highest scoring team, but one player on my opponent's team has an insane boom game. I hate that. And I will say this. One, I'm working on developing a new type of fantasy league. We are testing it this year, and then it might come to possibly fan tracks next year if everything works out the way I want it to. And I think this type of situation, first off, is just different things that are fun about it, different ways, more strategy. But this could help, the people who are scoring so much. You have a good fantasy team. You just get, a bad beat essentially every single week, a bad luck because you play the highest scoring team. There's more compensation for the teams that are losing while scoring a ton of points, right? So I think there's one. So first point, watch this channel because there might be something really awesome coming, and you may be one of the first people ever who get to play this new type of fantasy league. 2, this is a reason why playing against the league median every single week is essential. A lot of sites now, for sure, Sleeper, Fantrax, and maybe I think Yahoo has it as well. You can have it so you play against the league median every single week. So there's an opportunity to go, 2-0, 1-1, or 0-2 every single week. But if you're the second highest scoring team, you would have gotten a win in a bunch of those other weeks, right? So I think that keeps fantasy a little bit more fair. I understand the reason for people not liking it, but playing against the league median, I think is important. I think it's smart. But yeah, any other last second questions? Otherwise, I will do a couple plugs, I suppose. Subscribe wherever you're watching. We'll be live Wednesday night with a ranking show, going over my rankings, which are on Flurry Sports and on Fantasy Pros every single week. You can also get these rankings from flurrysports.org, or you can join the Fantasy Football by Committee Facebook group. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description. It's a Facebook group where you can ask questions to myself, other people you've seen on the show, and other people in the fantasy community every single day, all year long. You can ask questions anonymously as well. So if you don't want people from your league finding out where you're asking questions, getting advice, knowing your strategy, yada, yada, you can ask questions anonymously, but you can ask start-sit questions, trade questions. We can rate your team. You can answer questions for other people as well. I just want to be a growing fantasy football community. I want to grow and build one of the best fantasy communities here on the internet. There used to be some cool pockets on Twitter, on other places, but it's turned super toxic, super weird, super clickbaity. Not into that, not wanting that. So Fantasy Football by Committee, go join that group on Facebook and help grow this new community. It's really useful to help you, obviously, every single week. If you need really quick advice, it's a great spot for it. Johnny, understand that there's luck involved, but I feel like you must have a stack in order to be successful. I don't think so. I'm not big on stacks for season-long leagues. And I'm not against them, but I don't think you need it. Like, obviously, stacks are useful for best ball. Stacks are useful for daily leagues. But for a season-long, it's just, players this year are extremely inconsistent, and it fucking sucks. Like, I don't know. You had bad luck. And we both know the players on your team are good. They should have been good. Injuries to them, injuries surrounding them, for the most part, that's the situation there. Really, really hurts you. And that's kind of been this whole fantasy year. This fantasy year has been, it's been weird. A lot of international games, shit ton of injuries, weird schedules. And I think, I think the way that they do their off-season programs and training camps and all of that, I think it's not useful, or it doesn't contribute to good football. Like, the way everything's happening, like, teams are kind of just finally starting to settle in and get into their own. But when people aren't ready to play football, it leads to bad football, and it leads to a shit ton of injuries. And we've seen it. Like, playing surface is a conversation to be had for sure. I think everyone needs to play on grass, but we also need to have a smart ramp up period for all of these players. We can't just go from zero to get your head fucking taken off in a second. It doesn't work. You need to compensate people better for preseason. You need to compensate these off-season programs better. You need to do all of that. And it'll lead to more safe football. It'll lead to better football. It'll lead to all of that. But right now, the NFL keeps preaching this is what they want, and then they keep making decisions to go backwards. So stupid. Albert has a stack team, or he has Deontay Williams, Deontay Johnson maybe, and George Pickens. Who should I trade away? I'm assuming Deontay Johnson. Got two Steelers receivers, I'm assuming, is the question. I'm trading away Deontay for sure. I think he's probably going to finish the year, even with those missed games. There's a chance he finishes the year with more receptions than George Pickens, but at some point, the Steelers have to realize, just lob it up to George Pickens. He's going to come down with it. He is extremely talented. He's so fucking good. So Steelers need to use him more. I would rather have him. He's more fun to cheer for. He should be a better fantasy receiver going forward. That's who I'm trading away. I'm trading away Deontay. Sorry. PPR, who would you trade? Devontae. I'm assuming it's Devontae Adams because you spelled it correctly. Thank you for that. Devontae for Jacoby and Mostert. When I trade Devontae for Jacoby and Mostert, if you are super in need of running backs and your wide receivers are fine, then yes. Obviously, the Raiders want to use Jacoby. McDaniels loves Jacoby Myers. He plays a pretty prevalent role in this offense. So, how big of a step down is he going to be from Devontae? Probably not insanely massive. Mostert's going to have to deal with Jeff Wilson and, excuse me, HN. Need to take more cold meds. Jesus. So, I don't love buying Mostert right now, but if you're in need of running back help, if you need to start chaining together some wins, then I would do it. Jay, in a redraft league, should I trade Gibbs and Javonte, Jahmyr Gibbs, Javonte Williams, for Bijan? 2 points per reception, I have Jonathan Taylor, Saquon, Mixon, Gibbs, and Javonte. So you're stacked. I think you could do better. I think you can do better. Like, I think Bijan's good, but I'm not saying Bijan is head and shoulders above any, but like, I think he's a mid-tier running back one, probably. I think Javonte Williams is getting healthier and better as the weeks roll along. So I think his best football is ahead of him. Gibbs, it seems like his best football is ahead of him. I'm not saying he's ever going to be an obvious running back one. I don't think that will be the case, but I think his stock is increasing. It's rising. So no, I don't think I'd do that trade. I understand packaging some of that depth together to upgrade. I just don't think that's a big enough upgrade. Would I trade Ridley and Higgins for Waddle and Rashad White? I don't love Ridley. I think Higgins is going to get better. I don't love Waddle. And I think Rashad White's fine at a position of scarcity. So if you're stacked a wide receiver, then sure. I don't love the trade. I don't hate the trade. I think it is what it is. Would I do it? Probably not, because my favorite player out of these four is probably Higgins still. No. Do the trade. Do the trade. Waddle's fine. He's okay, right? Like, Waddle is not any worse than Ridley. So if you need running back help, do the trade. But don't do the trade, just trade. You know what I mean? St. Louis, welcome back. I have Christian McCaffrey and Mason up 6. Who do I play? Play Christian McCaffrey. He's active. You play him. Gotta play him. Don't get too cute. Don't get cute with it. Gotta play him. Thanks, Johnny, for the sub. Do I do draft rankings? Yeah. Probably will get the first overall pick next season, so need to start planning accordingly. Yeah, absolutely. We do draft rankings. Should do more shows and stuff like that, I'm assuming, for a dynasty league. Or maybe it's just, if you lose, you get the first pick in a redraft league next year. I don't know. But yeah, we do all that stuff. So definitely come back, hang around. Cohen, should I trade Waddle for DJ Moore? I hate single position for single position trades, but yes, I think I would value Moore slightly higher rest of season. I don't think there's a massive winner or loser in this trade, I suppose, but I think I'd rather have Moore. Close. Any last second questions before I jump off of here? Let me know. Again, join the Fantasy Football by Committee Facebook group. You can ask more questions there to myself, other hosts, and other people in the community. You can answer people's questions as well. Sub to wherever you're watching. We'll be live here on Wednesday night as well, going over my fantasy football rankings for the week. Immediately after, we also do our live Green Bay Packers podcast. You can listen to me piss and moan about the Packers. Always a good time. And then Thursday nights, obviously, we go live right before Thursday Night Football as well. Hoping to add some other shows coming up as well. Again, if there's interest for a trade show, essentially, this week or next week, just talking about people we would trade, buy low on, sell high on, and answer your guys' trade questions, let me know. We can do that. If you are in need of a fantasy football award, whether it be a championship belt, a trophy like that, or other super customizable trophies, champ chains, championship rings, go to trophysmack.com, use the promo code Flurry, and get everything you want from there. They got a deal on Shark Tank with Mark Cuban, so they're a big deal. The best trophies, seriously, in the industry, whether it be fantasy football, whether it be fantasy basketball, or other stuff. They also have customizable magnetic wall art, so it's super cool. You can switch them out super easily because there's just a magnet there. Really cool stuff at Trophy Smack. And if you want to play some DFS stuff, whether it be pick'ems, whether it be drafts, and another format coming very soon that I've gotten to play. Super, super cool. Go to underdogfantasy.com or download the Underdog app. Sign up with the promo code Flurry, FLURRY, and you get a free deposit match up to, I believe, $500. So, you immediately double your cash right away just for using the promo code Flurry. And then you can do pick'ems, you can do drafts, you can draft against me, do pick'ems against me. And again, a new format coming very soon, which I think is going to be awesome. Let's just say you have the ability to win twice with one entry. Very cool stuff. Sounds like it's going to be a very profitable thing and stuff that we may do a lot of content on, I would say. Because I love DFS pick'em stuff. I love drafts. I love all of that. So go to underdogfantasy.com, download the Underdog Fantasy app, promo code Flurry, double that deposit, help out the show, help out yourself, build that bankroll up, and I will see you Wednesday night. Bye.